Okay, may I have your attention, please? Well, good afternoon and welcome, ladies and gentlemen and children. My name is Ray Chadwick. I want to thank you for coming out on this beautiful day. But I have to mention that the sun is always shining when Republicans come out to support their candidates, their platform, and their values. So I'm proud to be here for that. It is always a good time to be a Republican, but it's especially good right now because we have the opportunity, the elections of 2010, the midterm elections, to bring back a focus on integrity in government, on our values, on fiscal discipline, and a certain legislative moderation in the things that our legislator takes on and how they engage us in our lives. So it's our purpose to bring back those values to the legislature and to the office of governor. Now, that's not going to be real easy. Governor Lynch is very popular. He remains popular with almost 60% of the voters of New Hampshire. And I find it interesting that part of that popularity is that he's often seen engaging with the victims of various disasters. You can find him at the scene of the latest fire, flood, or windstorm, consoling the victims. Less obvious is that he is at the center of a fiscal disaster, which is engulfing this state and will affect our taxpayers and our citizens for years to come. And you don't see him quite as visibly supporting and consoling those victims. Now, it's interesting to me because the governor spoke, he came down to Bedford, which is where I'm from. We had a convention on economic development, and he came down to talk to us. And while he was there, he gave us a brief reprise of his strategies and successes in his business life. And he said he was so successful, he was asked to speak at a convention, management convention for his company. He said his philosophy for success broke down into one sentence. And he said, and that sentence was, spend less money than you take in. Well, there was stunned silence because that seemed about as insightful as noting that the sun rises in the east. And I shot my hand up because I was going to ask, well, Governor, how's that working for you up in Concord? Unfortunately, he wasn't taking questions, so I didn't get to ask. Now, the governor's going out for an unprecedented fourth term, we expect. And when we think about that, I think that Republicans have to recognize that part of the reason that Governor Lynch has been successful is because of the votes of Republicans and on some occasions even the support of past party leaders. So I would suggest to you that Governor Lynch is Governor Lynch because Republicans have not fully united around their gubernatorial candidates. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking here about Craig Benson. Now, I want to point out to you, as we think about who we Republicans want to unite around and who independents want to get behind in this next election, I will guarantee you, is there anyone here that believes that Governor Benson would have presided over a 30-some% increase in government spending during his term? And I think the answer is clearly no. Does anyone here believe that a Governor Jim Coburn would have stood behind the acceptance of federal stimulus money that was one time only and committed the state to expenditures long into the future? I think the answer also would be no. Does anyone here believe that a Governor Joe Kenney would have promised to veto legislation that would change the definition of marriage and then go back on his word? The answer is no. Would any of these people preside over a legislative session that's resulted in changes where parts of our social structure is more liberal than that of California or Massachusetts? The answer is no. And lastly, would any of those people stand meekly by while the majority of our delegation in Washington is pursuing health care legislation that will result in unfunded mandates that will explode expenditures in this state for years to come? The answer, ladies and gentlemen, is no. I will point out to you, none of those people would have agreed with those things, and neither would Jack Kimball. I believe that if you look at the people we elect, the best way to see and be comfortable with what they're going to do is to look at their experiences, their values, the things that they've done, and the things they've supported in their lives. And I want to spend a minute or two talking a bit about Jack Kimball from that perspective, because I think his history is highly illustrative of the type of governor he would be. Now, Jack is a long-term resident of New England. He's 40 years in New Hampshire. And Jack served in the Navy aboard the USS Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He was discharged honorably in 1970. While he was there, though, and this is very interesting, he received an award called Honorman of Company, which is not real well known, but I think it's very interesting. It's an award that you are given by your peers. They vote on you and honor your duty, your discipline, your honor, your integrity, and your leadership capability. Now, I found this very interesting because this is an award that Jack was given by his peers in the Navy at a very young age. And I think that makes a pretty strong statement of the type of capability that he had brought to his task there. After the Navy, he moved to Nashua, New Hampshire. He took a position with BASF. While he was there, working full-time, he also took on part-time, paid himself, to get a degree in business administration from UMass Lowell. After BASF, he started his own company, Great Bay Facility Maintenance. He grew that to $1 million enterprise. Again, an example of duty, discipline, and commitment to service. You'd think with all that on his plate, he wouldn't have much time left over. He's active in support of a variety of military issues. He's one of the Peace greeters. These are the people that come out at any hour of the day or night to greet our servicemen returning from the theaters in which they are engaged. Now, Jack is also active in the Tea Party movement, and as you all are aware, that's a movement which is focused upon conservative values and smaller government and fiscal constraint. Jack has been involved since the inception of that movement, and I think that gives an excellent example of the type of vision that he will bring to a duty in the corner office. And last but not least, Jack is a family man. He lives in Dover, New Hampshire with his wife Donna Marie, with his stepdaughter Leah, his mother-in-law Jean. His daughter Tammy lives with her husband Tate in Rochester, New Hampshire, and with them today are their two daughters, Tiana and Taya. So he has his family here in support of his candidacy, and I would like to introduce to you the next governor of the great state of New Hampshire, Jack Kimball.